Greetings, and welcome to Arcana Analysis, where we invite you into the Velvet Room to unlock the secrets of the Arcanum and the bonds they encompass. On this episode of Arcana Analysis, we'll be exploring the Lovers Arcana. The Lovers bears the Roman numeral 6 and depicts a man and a woman separated by a symbol of love, often Cupid. The Lovers does not necessarily represent romance, rather it carries meanings of duality. This can manifest as being split between two different ideas, or caught between two opposing concepts. This is why the Lovers is most often represented by romance, which is a merging of two different beings. When the Lovers appears in a reading, it may be telling you to align your values and morals, to prepare for an important choice. The exact nature of this choice is ambiguous, but it shall inevitably be a test of one's ideals. Uniquely, the appearance of the Lovers Arcana is a push towards following one's heart and emotions before mind and logic. In the Persona series, the Lovers often takes the form of the first female party member the protagonist meets. They are generally popular and cheerful women, often pushed as a love interest for the protagonist. While outwardly friendly and likable, they tend to have a hidden side to them that conflicts with their popular persona. They find themselves questioning their intended role, becoming increasingly ambivalent towards what they thought they cared about or who they were. At some point in the game, bearers of this arcana must make an important choice, one that will ultimately allow them to grow and embrace every facet of their personality. Interpersonal relationships are important to lovers. Their arcs tend to involve fractures between themselves and others that must be overcome. This is not due to hatred on the part of the lovers themselves, rather, society often pushes them from those they love, causing conflict. Their arcs tend to end with the reconciliation of a relationship, leading to a stronger bond than ever. Personas of the Lovers Arcana usually take the form of fairies or mythical wives and female deities. These personas commonly play the role of support or healer within a party, befitting the Arcana's emphasis on relationships.
The Lovers Arcana within Persona 3 is held by Yukari Takeba, classmate of the protagonist and a fellow member of SIS. She is a rather kind and cheerful girl, though she is easily annoyed by characters like Junpei, often using sarcasm to express this annoyance. In her school life, Yukari is quite the social butterfly due to her outgoing demeanor, but below the surface lies a frightened and lonely girl. This isolation and fear stems from the loss of her father when she was a child. Eiichiro Takeba, Yukari's father, was a researcher with the Kirijo group when they were conducting experiments on shadows. A mysterious accident would take the lives of Eiichiro and the rest of the scientists on this project, as well as bring the Dark Hour and Tartarus into existence. Yukari became consumed by grief, continuing to hold on to her father's memory and drifting apart from her mother for her perceived infidelity, even years after the accident. When she discovered her persona and was given the opportunity to join SIS, Yukari accepted the offer in the hopes of learning the truth behind the accident that killed her father. Naturally, due to her relationship with the Kirijo group, Yukari shows a great deal of loathing towards Mitsuru. This distaste reaches its peak during the vacation to Yakushima, when Yukari discovers her father's role in the creation of the Dark Hour. This revelation leaves the girl incredibly conflicted and enraged, but with the help of the protagonist, she slowly comes to terms with things. However, Yukari only knows part of the truth. Following Shuji Ikutsuki's betrayal, Fuka searches the man's laptop and discovers an unedited video of Eiichiro's final message. This unmanipulated video contains a heartfelt message meant specifically for Yukari, and gives her the closure she needs to move on, allowing her persona to evolve from Io into Isis. Within her social link, Yukari faces a similar dilemma with regards to her father's memory. When her mother announces that she intends on getting remarried, the girl is shocked and appalled by how inconsiderate she thinks this is. In reality, Yukari is frustrated because she doesn't want to let go of her father's memory, like her mother has seemingly done. She keeps her loved ones at arm's length, in order to avoid getting attached to someone she might inevitably lose. It's with the help of the protagonist that Yukari learns to accept support from others, as well as understand why her mother would want that same sort of support in the form of a new partner. All of Yukari's growth within the game comes from her conscious choice to move forward following her father's passing. Instead of being tormented and isolated by her grief, she builds stronger connections with her friends and family in order to overcome her loss. She even manages to turn her animosity towards Mitsuru into a powerful friendship built on mutual support. This is all incredibly indicative of the Lovers Arcana, forging powerful bonds through difficult choices. Yukari's initial persona, Io, is depicted as a young woman resting on the head of a cow, more specifically, a heifer. A heifer is a young female cow who has not yet had a calf. The young woman also appears to be chained and shackled to the heifer chair, with body language that reads as incredibly reserved and anxious. In Greek mythology, Io is a mistress of Zeus who, when caught in the act by Hera, is turned into a heifer. From this, the heifer itself could be seen as a symbol of infidelity, which is a great fear of Yukari's for the majority of the game. She doesn't allow herself to move on following the loss of her father, chaining herself to this memory like the young woman is chained to the chair. Then, when Yukari comes to terms with her father's death, her persona evolves into Isis, a far more elegant and proud persona. Both the woman and the heifer from Io's design have now merged into one, proving that Yukari is no longer shackled by her father's memory. Rather, she lives on while still embracing the past. Isis is also a goddess highly tied to healing, making her a perfect fit for the supportive role Yukari plays within the party.
Rise Kujikawa is the lovers of Persona 4. After the idol leaves her job and returns to her hometown of Inaba, she is thrown into the TV world and must face off against her shadow. A stripperific, attention-seeking version of herself with far more power than anything the investigation team has ever seen before. The version of Rise that manifests within the TV world is one that is overflowing with frustration from having to constantly act out and play different roles. But at the same time, it recognizes and lavishes in the praise from her audience. She is stuck between these two extremes, searching for some semblance of truth while also desiring love and attention. This duality manifests as an infamously adult-themed dungeon. Rise is suffering from a severe identity crisis. She has lost track of her true self due to the nature of her career, leaving her hollow and uncertain. In an attempt to run from these feelings, she quits the idol industry, seeing Rosette as the fake part of herself. Within her social link, we can see Rise's attempts to totally abandon her past life. She doubles down on living the life of a normal country girl, though the homicide detective part does get in the way a bit. To further this, she rejects any connection to her days as an idol, even the manager who treated her like family. This honest life working at her family's tofu shop is Rise's image of what a real person is, thus she leans into it entirely. This fails to fulfill Rise in the way she desires. Instead of finding her true self in this construction of a normal life, Rise realizes she's just doing the same thing she's always done, become another person through acting. She reflects on how this has always been her MO. As Rosette, she could take on any persona to appeal to fans. Before that, she created Rosette to reach out to people and leave behind the gloomy and shy girl she had been in her school days. She hasn't changed at all, she's just wearing another mask. The conclusion Rise comes to is the same within her dungeon and social link. There is no real Rise. She is a conglomerate of every personality she's ever acted out. Each holds a kernel of truth and is an important part of her heart. Rejecting any of them would only be rejecting herself. By instead embracing the duality within her, she can give strength not only to herself, but to others as well. She resolves to return to the idol business for her fans, and continues to act as a guide for the investigation team. Rise's initial persona, Himiko, references an early Japanese queen who is said to have been a shaman. Her persona's evolution, Kanzeon, is based on a Chinese goddess of mercy. Kanzeon is specifically notable for being granted 100 arms so she could better help those in need. Though these limbs are not shared by Rise's persona, the desire to aid others is clearly shown in her role as the investigation team's guide.
In Persona 5, the Lovers Arcana is held by Takamaki, a second year at Shujin Academy and the first female member of the Phantom Thieves. Is regarded as a kind and compassionate girl, though occasionally absent-minded. Unlike most lovers, is considered an outcast at Shujin due to her foreign blood, so she has only a few close friends at the beginning of the game. Her popularity instead comes in the form of her modeling career, in which is seen as a natural beauty. She vehemently despises the thought of people valuing her for her body and nothing else, as many have done to her in the past. At the beginning of the game, is caught in a terrible predicament. She is targeted by Suguru Kamishita, the volleyball coach at Shujin Academy, who is sexually harassing the girl and consistently making advances on her. Alongside being a downright abusive coach, Kamishita threatens to kick Shiho Suzue, On's first and closest friend, off the volleyball team if she displeases him. In an effort to protect her friend, endures Kamishita's advances, which results in countless rumors around the school about her and this horrible man. After meeting the protagonist, is encouraged to stand up to Kamishita and refuse his advances, but this results in the volleyball coach lashing out at Shiho instead. Because of this, Shiho attempts suicide by jumping off the roof of the school. Vows to get revenge on Kamishita for what he has done, driving her to join the Phantom Thieves and expose this horrid man's crimes to the world. Following Kamishita's defeat, does her best to support Shiho through her recovery and physical therapy. In an effort to prevent herself from being taken advantage of, An swears to strengthen her heart to become a better phantom thief and to protect her friends. The inspiration for this strength shifts throughout her social link. Initially, she says she is inspired by a villain in an anime she watched growing up, who is both beautiful and powerful, capable of taking what she wants. As the link progresses, An meets a cruel and manipulative model named Mika, who motivates An to become a better model. Ultimately, An never feels as though she's doing enough, constantly comparing herself to those around her. It isn't until after a discussion with Shiho that An realizes just how strong she's really become. It was her overwhelming spirit and positivity, her drive to improve herself, that inspired Shiho to overcome the grueling physical therapy process. From there, An strives to improve her modeling by her own means, and resolves not to let women like Mika bother her anymore. An's strong personal relationships with friends like Shiho are very befitting of the Lovers Arcana. Much like the other bearers of this arcana, An also overcomes an important choice that tests her ideals, either suffering in silence to protect the ones she loves, or fighting back to make sure that they're never hurt again. An's initial persona, Carmen, shares a few design similarities with her thief suit, like the twin tails and the cat motif. Carmen can be considered a classic femme fatale, which An views as her ideal form of strength and rebellion. There are several blatant elements of love and romance within the design of this persona, like the roses that line Carmen's waist, and the hearts that cover her boots and corset. Carmen embodies a lifestyle that An admires, where her beauty doesn't make her some object to be used by men like Kamoshida. Rather, she may flaunt her beauty and control the men who pine for her, just as Carmen controls the two heart-headed men attached to her. When Carmen evolves into Hecate, her design becomes far more sinister. Whereas Carmen represents An turning beauty into strength, Hecate represents raw strength regardless of beauty. She resembles a true villainess, not unlike the femme fatales An admired and grew up with. There is no denying Hecate's beauty, but she no longer relies on her looks to be powerful. Instead, this persona can be strong, intimidating, and beautiful.
That concludes our analysis of the Lovers Arcana.
Though the women represented by this arcana may be charismatic and kind, one should not forget that behind their smiles they hide their own struggles. Despite their pain, they always think of others.
The duality held within the lovers may be a daunting reality to face, but it is ultimately a source of strength for them. By embracing their inner truths, they can gain the wisdom and power to assert their own ideals and grow as people. We hope you've enjoyed your stay with us in the Velvet Room, and we look forward to seeing you again. Until then, we bid you adieu.